Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to SF Commons. Tonight we have a special program. We are featuring the lawsuit against the Democratic National Committee and Deputy Wasserman by three classes of plaintiffs: the people who have donated money to the Bernie Sanders campaign, members of the DNC who have donated money to the DNC, and people who have donated money to the DNC, and people who have donated money to the Democratic Party. Tonight we have one of the lawyers, a very talented, smart, brilliant lawyer, representing the plaintiffs. She's Elizabeth Lee Beck, and so welcome, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hi, good to be here. Thank you for making the time, Myrna. Hi, San Francisco.
Yeah, great. You are in Florida, right?
Yes, I'm in South Miami-Dade.
Oh, how is it over there? How's the weather?
Oh, I grew up in California.
Oh, you did?
I spent
Where?
Los Angeles, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, I know. So I'm a Southern California girl.
Traffic.
I spent from the age of 3 until, gosh, I want to say into my mid-20s.
Oh, really?
So pretty much my whole young adult life, I grew up in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Again, I'm in Florida. Well,
Yeah.
Florida's nice. Anyway. Okay, let's talk about this lawsuit. The media is not talking about it. There's almost a blackout. The only thing I've seen so far that the media has said is that Washington Post said that this
Oh,
is
you mean a Wapu?
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
The Washington Post said that this is a frivolous lawsuit, and God bless.
Dave Weigel. Let's name check. Dave Weigel
And you have a big defender
of
out
the
of Florida. You have a
Washington.
big defender out of Florida, Tim Canova. Hopefully he
Yay,
will win.
yeah.
Hey Tim, hopefully he'll be the next congressman against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. He tweeted back saying this is not a frivolous lawsuit, and so anyway, let's talk
Well,
about
Tim Canova is a law professor.
exactly.
I will take Mr. Canova's opinion on a lawsuit
Exactly.
over Dave Weigel's any day.
The Washington Post is not my favorite because first of all, the owner Jeff Bezos, who owns the Amazon,
Hey, why did
received
Amazon's rates go up? That's bullshit.
yeah the Amazon. Jeff Bezos received a $600 million contract when Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State,
Okay.
because Washington Post has a project for them, $600 million, and then after
What's-
that he
Wait a minute.
bought
So what is the Washington Post using that money for? What's this project? Is it like some super secret project?
exactly. It's in the
Oh,
advisory.
really? I
it's-
think isn't that my tax dollars, actually?
Exactly.
That's what
Yeah.
this tells.
Well, and guess what happened? After he got the $600 million contract, he bought the Washington Post for $300 million. $300 million. So I suspect that that's the taxpayers' monies are somehow involved in that. But anyway, so going back to this case, which is
Yeah.
going to be quite a landmark case. This will set a precedent because, one, this involves how our political system operates. Because our political system is based on a two-party system, right? We have the Democratic Party and we have the Republican Party. So these two megalith, parties, unless you are part of either party and you want
On the fact that people are puzzled why, we live in a world where Jodi Arias, various trials, even if you don't know how they're going to turn out,
yeah,
blow by blow, an accounting is given to the public.
exactly.
And here we are. We have a lawsuit. It's a case of great importance to many people, regardless
Exactly.
of how it turns out. People
Right.
want to know. I personally know that many people want to know because they contact me through various channels, the public does, for information, and yet the media isn't, they seem very, very stubborn about covering this case. And Myrna, what you may be picking up on is the fact that they may be somehow complicit.
They are complicit. They have always been.
In the actions that have given rise to this lawsuit. Now, whether that may or may not be the case is not something that I can speculate now. We have not even entered into the discovery phase of the lawsuit.
Right.
The lawsuit was filed in June of last year. So it's actually been going on for a while. But the crazy thing is many people out there still don't know that this lawsuit exists.
Right.
Even though
okay,
it's
let's talk about words now, because we are in a critical phase, right? The critical phase being that the defendant, the Democratic National Committee, and the Debbie Wasserman have filed a motion to dismiss with prejudice.
They filed, this is the second motion to dismiss, but yes.
With prejudice. So whatever the ruling is that the court makes has a major impact on whether or not it's going to move forward or not, right?
Correct.
So, okay, so on that basis, it's very critical that people know today what this case is all about. And the media, outside of the Washington Post saying it's frivolous, they're already trying to characterize it.
You mean WAPU?
Exactly, right? So anyway, okay, let's talk about try to walk the people through the case itself. Who are the classes? Because basically it's a class action lawsuit. And then what are the cause of actions, the allegations? And then what are the defenses, and what remedies are you seeking, and so forth and so on and so forth. So let's start with that.
So the lawsuit was filed in June of 2016. It was filed as a putative class action. And I say putative because you can plead a case as a class action, but until the court allows it to go forward as a class action, it is still a putative or potential class action.
Right.
And so in a class action, you only need one person. In our case, there's over 100. They represent or seek to represent groups of people. And in the DNC fraud lawsuit, there are 3 groups of people that we have pled as putative classes. The first class is comprised of all folks who donated to the campaign of Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
The second group is comprised of folks who have donated to the Democratic National Committee, the DNC. And the third group is comprised of Democrats. And please keep in mind that these groups may very well overlap.
Exactly.
You can have donated to Bernie and the DNC. And, there's a Facebook page that I oversee, the official Facebook page for the Wilding versus DNC lawsuit. And there are comments there. Folks comment that they are Republican, they're registered Republicans, and they've donated to Bernie Sanders. So those folks would be in the Bernie Sanders class.
Okay.
Bernie Sanders donor.
So what are the causes of action?
There are multiple causes of action, and if you want to really dig down into it, I urge you to read the amended complaint directly. But I will say that the heart of this case is fraud and negligent misrepresentation. It's not a contract case because
it's a tort case. Yes.
Yes, it's a fraud case.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so there's the fraud by the DNC, right? There's the negligent misrepresentation, and there's a violation of a statute regarding consumer protection in D.C.
Yeah, that's a DC. That's a DC state. That's a DC statute. Yes.
Right. There's the peculiar unjust enrichment by the, and then the breach of the fiduciary duty, and then the negligence. So now, in looking at the pleading, I read the pleading, and they're very solid. You guys have made an incredible pleading and great arguments and so forth. Then, of course, the DNC and their lawyer came back with the motion to dismiss, right?
Which is very routine.
Very flimsy.
Unfortunately,
they don't have the facts and they don't have the law, so they just insulted you basically, saying this is so generic. Why are you wasting the court's time? So
I mean, what I see in my practice is that regardless of the merit of the complaint, it seems to be more often than not, almost all defendants moved to dismiss.
Right.
So they've done so. And basically what that means is moving to dismiss is basically saying, look, there is no reason to go into the evidence of this case.
Right.
Forget about that. Right off the bat, there is no case.
Right.
Okay. There's just no case. So, judge, throw this case out.
Right. Well, let's talk about
that's the essence of a motion to dismiss. So, what can the court do? Because I've been asked, what are the potential outcomes?
Well, okay. First of all, they allege that on the motion to dismiss, a lack of standing, right? Lack of standing, that it's impossible for you to show a causation on reliance, and there's an issue of subject matter jurisdiction, and that they want the class stricken out, and then there's a failure to state a claim. What I want to talk about is how, in their own argument, in dismissing the case, they put themselves in a position where they're exposing themselves to the public. One of their claims is, well, they cannot show, here is the defendant's lawyer saying, well, they cannot even say who a Democrat is.
Right.
I mean, how silly is that?
Well,
I mean, that's their cause of action, and that they're saying that, well, they have no standing because we are a private corporation. We can do whatever we want to do, and that for the court to make a ruling on this case to move forward would be interfering with their internal, with the internal bylaws and so on and so forth, right? So those are the kind of, I believe, flimsy arguments that won't stand. I mean, and that's where the tension is between the legal aspect and the political aspect, because while they're trying very hard to save themselves from a major economic liability, right? I mean, after all, Bernie Sanders collected $228 million. While they're trying to defend themselves from the damages, from the liability, they are also having to face the problem of having to tell the public that, look, this lawsuit is interfering with our freedom of speech, of association. We should be able to associate with anybody we want. So what do you think about all that? I just thought about that.
I think that's a load of bullshit. But
I
don't think you need a law degree.
I love your response.
I don't think you need a law degree to see that.
Exactly.
I mean, but let's talk about it. So one of the arguments, as you pointed out, Myrna, is that they said that they are a private corporation.
Right.
What that has anything to do with anything, I don't understand. Since when do you get to run around breaking laws if you're a private organization?
Exactly.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Private. Apple Computer. Walmart. They're all private corporations. If they break the law, guess what? They get sued. So I don't know why the DNC, which is a private corporation, can insulate themselves from legal action. The other argument that was brought up, as you pointed out, Myrna, is that the defendants in court insinuated that this is a political question.
Exactly.
The political case.
And therefore it's not registered.
And this was argued, my colleague and my husband, Jared Beck, argued this in numerous instances. He's mentioned this, and I completely agree. This is not a political case. This is a fraud case.
Exactly.
This is not the first time I'm handling a fraud case. And if I see fraud, I will consider taking that case. And we took this case because we saw fraud. And as a result, this is no, let me put it to you this way, Myrna. If a local congressman is arrested for murder,
right,
that's not a political case.
Exactly.
That's a murder case.
Of course.
I'm
exactly.
sorry, that's a murder case.
Yeah.
And if you
They're
are the law
trying to
enforcement,
obfuscate the issue, of course. Yeah.
if you are the local law enforcement who is making the arrest of this guy for murder, it wouldn't make sense to tell him, hey, this is a political case, let him go. Who gives a you know what? Okay. I'm sorry, this is public radio, right? I got
television.
It's not Twitter, right?
This is television, right?
I gotta mind my P's and Q's.
That's okay. It's okay.
So similarly, the DNC fraud lawsuit is not a political case, it's a fraud case.
Right.
I have another case, it's a fraud case, it's against the Mayo Clinic, which is a hospital. That too is a fraud case.
Yeah.
Fraud is fraud is fraud. A lie is a lie is a lie. It doesn't really matter who's saying the lie, it's still a lie.
Right.
That doesn't make it not a lie.
Yeah.
And what else did the defendant say in court?
Well, I think when they say that.
Oh, no standing. Well, that's an interesting.
When they say they can go in the back room and pick their own nominee.
Oh, I really appreciated that. They were being so honest,
Well,
it's, if you think about it, what did they say? They say that if you tell a lie often enough, it becomes true.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I like to think, Myrna, that is still, that may or may not be true in our political realm, but maybe that is not true in our legal realm. So when people go into court or when their lawyers go into court,
right,
we still have a duty to be honest. So
earlier we were talking about why this is both a legal and a political problem, and that
it's not a political problem.
Well, no. In terms of I'm not talking about. I'm talking about why it's a political problem for them, for the Democratic Party, in that.
Yeah, well, they're a political party and they have a problem.
Exactly,
so
exactly.
Yes, that's a political problem.
It is a political problem because they have to maintain a facade. They have to maintain a facade that they are a political party that represents the people against a big bad Republican Party. But then, if their own lawyer is arguing that, hey, you guys really don't have a say in what we do and who becomes president, because that's our realm of power. What does the ordinary person say? It's like, well, we thought we live in a democratic country. If you're saying that to our face now, why have we wasted all our time? Why do we bother to vote?
Well, I think you bring up a very good point, and I think that's part of the.
That's the issue for them.
I would say that that's part of the discovery when you've been defrauded.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is you start to discover what the real truth is.
Yeah.
And maybe in some way the lawsuit has already made some progress some inroads to that, because regardless of what was said, on the media, in newspapers, in the charter, when push came to shove and there was a court hearing, the defendant's attorney said that we believe that we have the right to pick the candidate in a back room.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's why the whole media, the corporate media, wants to cover it up, to pretend it does not exist. That they're hoping that it would be one of those cases that, hits the screen for like an iota of a second and disappears. And then they can go on in their merry business, telling the people,
disappear?
Yes, this is...
Why would the lawsuit disappear?
Well, that's what they're hoping, right? I mean, that's why they're hoping that's why they have a motion to dismiss with prejudice.
Oh, I see. No.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what they're hoping to do. That, it'll be one of those millions of cases that goes to the judicial system and then gets adjudicated and nothing ever happened and nothing is ever mentioned about it again. But that's the thing, that the American people have to be educated about this case, because it's a major case. It's a very presidential case. It could be a landmark case.
I try to take things one day at a time, so I don't...
Well, I like to speculate.
I know there's a lot of people that are following the case, and I'm happy to, pursue the case on behalf of everyone. I hope we get a good result in this case.
I believe so, because there's no defense. It's a solid case. It's a solid case. I
Well,
mean,
why aren't there other lawyers filing this lawsuit then, Myrna?
they're scared. Come on, you're okay. I'm not a conspiracy or whatever. Lucas, who served the complaint, is dead, right?
Our process server, Mr. Sean Lucas, yes, he served the complaint. It was live streamed on Facebook. The video is on YouTube, and the defendants filed a motion, which is somewhat unusual. It doesn't always happen. They filed a motion to dismiss based on insufficient service. They basically said that they were not served properly, even though Mr. Lucas went to DNC headquarters and an employee was sent down to receive the papers.
Right.
And her name was, you know,
Harris.
It's all in the court papers. Anyway.
Right.
So after they filed their motion to dismiss for lack of service, we were getting ready to prepare to rebut that, and we were notified that Mr. Lucas passed away very suddenly. Right. He was a young man, and I believe
that was terrible.
Late 20s, early 30s, and he just died very suddenly.
And then Seth Rich, DNC staff member.
Seth Rich, from what I understand, was a gentleman who worked in within the DNC organization in their voter database department. Okay.
Right.
And he was last year. He lived in Washington D.C., I believe. At night, in the middle of the night, he was shot and gunned down in what has been reported as a quote-unquote botched robbery. But from what I understand, his valuables were still on him.
Nothing was ever taken.
Yes, it's an unsolved murder. And I believe there's a gentleman whose name is George Webb, who is, God bless his soul, he is poking around DC trying to get to the bottom of this because it doesn't look like anybody else is doing it. And there's a lot of information around Mr. Rich's death, such as the fact that when the first responders arrived at the scene, he actually had not passed away. He was alive and cognizant. And I have also seen reports that the initial prognosis was that he was going to make it. There has been records of him being taken to a hospital that is out of the way from the place where he was gunned down. At the end of the day, this is what I know. I know that Mr. Rich worked for the DNC. Mr. Rich was murdered. He was shot and killed, and his murder is as yet unsolved, despite the fact that there is a six-figure reward out there from various sources. WikiLeaks has put out a reward, and various other organizations have thrown funds into the kitty, but nobody is coming out with any information really to claim that reward, as far as I know. I don't want to, even though Washington Post, that piece of doo-doo rag, has that's okay, right? Has conflated the death of Mr. Rich with this lawsuit. As a matter of fact, they mentioned both in the same article. I do want to say that, you know, I am just telling you what I know. So that's what I know about Mr. Rich's death. And WikiLeaks has sent out tweets about Mr. Seth Rich. So whether or not the documents that give rise to the DNC fraud lawsuit was in fact leaked by Mr. Rich as a DNC insider to WikiLeaks, that is, I'm not going to speculate on that. I have no idea.
Well, they should be investigating it, right? I mean, you know, for God's sake.
I'll tell you what I do know. I tell you what I do know. I do know that Mr. Seth Rich has passed away in what is undeniably a murder. and it is yet unsolved. That's what I do know.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's sad, you know, that you know, a kid like that would be killed, and the police showed up like a few minutes as soon as the shooting, and they don't know.
I would recommend your viewers to independently look into this, because
and there's supposed to be surveillance cameras around the area, and the police have body cams and so on and so forth. It's like
this is really the job. If we had a truly independent and vibrant investigative press,
right,
they would be doing this.
They'll be all over it.
They're not. What they're doing, like Dave Weigel of the Washington Post, is they're sitting around and sending like Twitter pot shots at Jared and me. Okay, that's what they're doing. Instead of looking into a murder. They dismiss the murder as they just dismiss the murder. They take pot shots at the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Okay, they call the lawsuit frivolous, which is ridiculous, because there's nothing in the case that's frivolous, and we'll just have to wait for the court's order. But I do know that the court, in prior hearings, the judge said in open court that this was a very interesting case.
Yeah.
So
it should be a hopefully. I'm hoping for a positive court ruling to affirm, you know, it's not going to be once and for all, to affirm at this point that we still have a democratic election in the United States of America. That's what we need. And a positive court ruling in that direction would do that. I mean, it's not like this will be decided on the merits. It's just like an issue of, okay, let's have it move forward and let the people, you know, present their evidence, let them do their discovery, and then let them call in their witnesses and so forth and make further arguments. That's all you're trying to do at this stage.
I will say this. If the defendant's motion to dismiss proves to be successful and this lawsuit ends here and now, I just want everybody to know, regardless of your political affiliation, that is going to be the new normal of our country, is you can get defrauded. Okay?
Yeah.
You are a fool. You are a fool to believe in the political process. Okay?
Exactly.
You're a fool. So to me, that would be such a great tragedy, such a great tragedy for that to happen. I still maintain that it is not. I still maintain that it is not the plaintiff's fault for having faith in our political process.
Right.
It is the defendant's fault for defrauding them.
Exactly. Anyway, so that's quite an interesting discussion. So anyway, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining us, and we will follow this case as we go through and we move along. All right?
Yes.
You have something?
If you Google the words...
Wait. Okay, there you go.
If you go Google the words DNC miscellaneous documents, you can get the hearing for the April 25th, the transcript for the April 25th.
That's Jam-Pack, right? Do they have to go to Jam-Pack?
Yeah, Jam-Pack's not really doing anything. It's hosting documents because, you know, I want to, you know, that's all it's doing. So I maintain that site too. Yeah.
Oh, so you could just put those.
If you Google this, the first link that shows up on the computer will be to miscellaneous documents.
Okay.
And the court hearing transcript will be there along with some courtroom sketches.
And there's some funny.
And if you want to see all the documents that were filed in this case in court, there it is. There's a URL.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, the hearing was quite interesting too. The judge is
long, 3.5 hours, very long.
Yeah, the judge has got quite a bit of character too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. And thank you so much for joining us. And this is exciting. We're going to follow this case, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you very much, and thank you, Elizabeth.
Bye. Happy Memorial Day.
All right.